In our last session, we talked about how God has been misrepresented, and we looked at 4 different ways that people can tend to view God, and we maybe got there at the end a little glimpse of what he's really like. And in this particular conversation, I want to chat with you about what I call the nature of God, things that are natural to him. Like, for example, for you and me, flesh, blood, and bones is natural to us. It's part of who we are. We also all have a birth date and an end date. We also have minds, but are limited. Power, but again is limited. And as far as I can tell, every person I've ever met has only been able to be at one place at one time physically. Technology aids us with that, but physically we can only be in one place at one time. Well, when we look at God and his nature, he is well beyond that. Now, I'm going to reference the Bible as our source as we discover what God's really like. Why? Well, because just like you are the source about you and I'm the source about me, the Bible is the primary place where God reveals himself to people. And so I could quote lots of scripture verses to you here, but we're not going to do that right now. And I want to teach you how to dig into that a little bit later on. But instead, I just want you to know that my sourcing is the Bible, and I could root this in lots of scriptures for you. And as we talk here about the nature of God, I want to buzz through a number of these with you. So you just get a quick snapshot from the Bible of what God's nature is like. So one thing the Bible tells us that God is the living God, which is what you think. He's alive and not dead. And because he's alive, he wants to engage with you and me. He is known in the scriptures as the living God. We also see that in the life of Jesus, who died on a cross and rose from the dead and lives today. Part of the expression of God being the living God. God is also spirit. And that's something we have to understand about him. It's not always easy to understand, but he's spirit, which means he's uncoerced, and there's a spiritual dynamic to his being. He's absolutely unlimited, and he's free. He's spirit. That's part of who God is. Another aspect of God's nature is God is infinite, which means he transcends space. He transcends space. You can't put God in a box. Now, many of us try. Well, God is this and God is that, and he can't do this and he can't do... God transcends space. He cannot be put into a box, and that's wonderful. All right? Because there's times in our lives we need him to explode, not out of it, not being in a box, but coming to aid us in our lives. God is, again, the Bible uses this word infinite, which means he transcends time. All right? God doesn't have a beginning, a middle, and an end like you and me. He transcends time. He has always been, is now, and will forever be. And that's something that the Bible teaches us about God, which means he's got some pretty big perspective, doesn't he? All right? God is also personal. Part of his nature and who he is personal. Just like you and I are bent to be able to have relationship with people, God is that way as well. He's very personal, and he actually desires to have relationship with his creation. God is also unchanging. This is something I love about God. He is unchanging. There's no fluctuation with him. He's constant and he's stable. In a world that we live in where there's ins and outs and ups and downs, I am so grateful that the God I love and know is stable. He's unchanging. He's our rock, and I love that. Now, let me give you 3 other things here. First of all, God is all powerful. There's nothing that God cannot do. He's made all kinds of things, but he's powerful within his creation. He can do miracles. That's something we see in the Bible and we've seen over history God do. He's all powerful. He's also all knowing. He knows everything. He knows all about us. He knows right now where the smallest ladybug is and where the fastest comet is flying all at the same time. He's all knowing, complete in his understanding. And God is also all present. He's present everywhere. There's nowhere that he's not. And see, that's very different than us that can only be in one place at one time. Well, these are some of the things about the nature of God. And as we close, I just want to encourage you to begin to think about these aspects of God's nature and which ones you most relate to and which ones you most need in your life. And I'll catch you on the next session as we talk about the character of God.